Hello and welcome to the Password Podcast. My name is James and I'm here joined by Devonte.
Hello. And today we are discussing about the social pressures, and I think we should start with it's a little simple with school life, like with homework and things like that. What are your opinions on these kind of things, James?
Well, homework is probably a necessary thing for kids to have to deal with, although the deadlines for homework should be appropriate. Like, in our school, some teachers give us deadlines where they set it for the next day after they've given you the homework, which is pretty stupid because they don't know what you might be doing that day.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think like with some homeworks, I think some like when you go start from year 7 to year 9, I think they should like build up the kind of level of homework that you do to kind of like get you used to it, so it's not like kind of jarring to where when you get to year 10 and something like, oh, this homework's too hard, like I wasn't expecting this, you know what I mean? Like, because people say homework is like essential because it prepares you for daily life and things like that with like having a job. But it's like sometimes some of the homework's like a bit too extreme. Like the computing coursework that we have to do. What do you think of that?
Well, for me, I don't have the coursework actually like set as homework, but from what you've described it is pretty bad. Like you have to do it in
Yeah,
one night, and if you don't do it, you get like
yeah.
hour
I think
detention.
they shouldn't really do that because it's like if you only give it like, that one night to do it, you don't have time to like really prepare yourself for when you actually like when you're actually like doing like proper homework, like college and things like that. When they give you assignments and things, they actually give you time. They don't give you like this one night thing, right, where you do all. Usually they don't do that most of the time, and and actually I think they actually do probably still do that for some jobs, but. Do you agree? Like, I think some jobs like jobs where you're working on an office, they have you like one day, and then the next day they give you some extra work to do, and you have to hand it in the next day. I think some jobs actually do that. So I don't think it's just like computing or school, because the I created media course is like it's kind of like similar to like how a daily job is, like in an office and things like that.
Yeah, how they have like work set, and then you have a deadline for which to do it by, and you've got milestones to complete during the thing.
Yeah. So like I mean they can do that. I think maybe what they probably need to do is kind of build it up more and kind of help you understand like what's the best way to manage your time and maybe give you some tips on it, because I think depending on what job you're gonna get, you probably will need to like know like and do those work on a one night stand. But I think they need to actually kind of teach you how to like manage your time, so you're not only just doing homework, but you also have time to yourself as well.
Yeah, well, back to your earlier point, you were
Yeah.
talking about trying to build up homework steadily over a course of time.
Yeah.
They are already kind of trying to do this because, like, when you're in primary school, they don't really give you that much homework, but the jump from primary school to then like year 7, that can be quite a big jump.
Yeah,
But
it's quite massive from primary school to high school because it's a very different environment as well.
But year 7, it's still a bit manageable, and they try to do it like where they do increase it like every year on like a bit and a
Yeah.
bit more, but they can be quite irregular sometimes. Like one week you'll get no homework, and the next week you'll get like a dozen.
Yeah, that's a problem. There needs to be consistency because, and I think it's probably hard for teachers to have consistency as well because they have to manage their own time and things. But just a little bit of homework a week, like even just revise topics and things like that. I mean, I think that would be just any kind of homework. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because a big problem for me would be if I got homework set on a Tuesday and it was due immediately the next day for a Wednesday, that would be almost impossible for me to do because I have my lifeguarding lessons on a Tuesday, which take up most of my afternoon, and then I've got to have my tea and do everything else.
Yeah.
So it would leave me very little time to actually be able to do my homework, and if I actually had the time to do it, the homework itself would be very poor quality because I'd be trying to rush it and get it done.
Yeah, I would have to agree with what you're saying about homework. So going on from homework. That's like the daily lives of like teenagers and things like that. But now it's like we're talking about like future education and things like that. Like that's the main part. Like what homework and school should be like setting you, like high school should be setting
Yeah,
yourself
like
up for.
leading you up to like your next level of learning in like
Yeah.
college, sixth form, and university.
Because they already prepare you for that in high school in year 10 and 11, where they would have you do exams in halls and in very quiet conditions and GCSEs. Because let's be honest, our high school lives are very, very important, and they really do affect our college and university lives. So going into like future education and things like that, what would you think about like the current like what would you think about GCSE? Do you think it's too stressful for students our age or not?
Well, they do put a lot of pressure on you when you're doing GCSEs because you always hear teachers saying like, this will determine your life, or like, a lot of older teachers say like, oh, 40 years ago I took GCSEs, and when I apply for a new job,
Yeah.
I still have to put those on, which is kind of true, but they emphasize it a lot on the kids, which can make it feel like a massive daunting challenge, which it kind of is, but again, it's just emphasized probably a bit too much by the
Yeah,
teachers.
and it does put a lot of pressure on the students when it shouldn't really, because us as teenagers at this time in like high school, we're very mentally delicate because as many say your high school life kind of determines what you're gonna be like when you're an adult, like your experiences through high school.
Yeah, and also in our school, they do put a big focus on our GCSEs, but something they seem not to mention is that if you still do bad in your GCSEs, which GCSEs are obviously still a big important thing, but they seem to neglect talking about the fact that after you do your GCSEs and then you go into college, you then have to do A levels on top of that, which could be arguably just as important or
Yeah.
more important.
I would, in my opinion, because we've done our options as well, and I would say GCSE and A level are kind of like a similar level of importance, but I think A levels are a little bit more important because GCSEs are like more of showing your intelligence to colleges, right? And A levels are like for universities and things like that. And I would think GCSEs do assist when you're looking at the university as well, because they look at if you're creative or not, what you did in high school and things like that. That those kind of determine what university you go to as well. But I think A levels are just a little bit more important when it comes to academically. I think they're more important than GCSEs in my opinion. Because what do you pick for your GCSEs again?
For my GCSEs, I picked ancient history, um, business, and well, I picked EPQ, but that is actually
Yeah.
an A level course. So it's not actually even a GCSE.
Yeah.
What we are doing. Oh, and I also picked computer science. Yeah.
With my GCSEs, I try to keep it broad because I don't want it to be that just academic, so I can't like manage my time and I can't have time to myself. But I also want, because I picked sociology, ancient history, French, and drama. So I would say the reason why my last decision was really tough when it comes to EPQ, extended project versus business. They were
Wasn't
quite,
it versus drama?
yeah, and drama. Like I picked drama because I thought it was a very creative subject, and I would never got the chance to do something like that again. But also like if I put too much emphasis on doing academic subjects, I wouldn't be able to have any emphasis. I wouldn't be able to do as well in those academic subjects as I can do, and I know I can do as well, and that's why I kind of picked those options. Also, yeah.
Yeah, that is true. But so schools, they generally put a lot of emphasis on GCSEs, but they don't really like trying to get your GCSEs and like trying to get you out there, getting a job and stuff. But most schools, they really do neglect talking about that after high school. A lot of kids, most kids in the UK mainly, because unlike America, our colleges are free. A lot of kids will just go on to college to do the A levels, and schools are mainly focused, like high schools. A lot of them, they focus on getting you the GCSEs and getting you out there.
Yeah.
They don't actually focus or really tell you about getting these GCSEs and then having to go to college and then do A levels. They don't. They more prepare you for going out there right after college, and after high school, instead of going into college after that.
Yeah, and I think like the problem was that schools, I think our school as well, they're very supportive about what you would do, right, and what would be the best option for you. But the problem is that they don't really prepare you and tell you what you would do after. What you would do after your GCSEs, you know, like what you could do during college or university. They don't really tell you about that. It's like once you're done, it's like you're just out there in that world, and you know you're all alone mostly, and everything's up to you. And it does seem open ended and things like that, but it's sometimes really jarring to go from high school to the big wide world.
Yeah. So, with this further education, I'd say this is very applicable with universities, but probably less so with colleges, and that's the fact that people, like, there's a lot of pressure if you're going to go to college and mainly university on getting into a good one. So there's like massive pressure surrounding like applying to like getting in a good university. And
I would agree. And I think another thing that about GCSEs and things like that is about the parent pressure about it as well, that kind of makes it hard for students. Like a lot of parents would like a lot of students, mainly, this is just an example, but like for example to be a doctor, because you know a doctor is like
a high paying job,
a very high paying job. But I want to know your opinion on. I'm very curious about your opinion on what being a doctor compared to like other jobs.
on being a doctor.
Yeah.
Well, that's very specific, but doctors are quite high paying jobs, but this is kind of like, again, with high school, where they just prepare you for getting your GCSEs and going out there. Because if you do want to be a doctor, they'll encourage you, but they don't really mention the fact that doctors, like teachers, they have to go through like years of like extra training to get there. Like doctors, like they have to get their GCSEs and all that, but then they have to get their doctorates. So a lot of the time they have to go to like special medical schools. Then they have to go to like get training at the like hospitals and stuff. And like with teachers, then they have to get like spend like a year or however long it is in schools, actually like learning how teachers operate.
Because the thing I was no, because doctors, it's like that's why first, like for our school this year they've taken away the triple science option, because you know a lot of peer pressure is from parents, like, oh, you have to do this, you have to be a doctor and things like that, and some students really don't want to. And I think it's mostly because of the kind of maybe ignorance of most people, because maybe probably the media's influence of the doctors being the best job. Because you know for places like America, for example, where the doctors get paid quite a lot for doing their job, and it's not like our country here where they have free medical care.
Because obviously you're encouraged like a lot in America to become a doctor, obviously, because you get paid a lot more money, because that's all private and ours is mostly public. But getting back to my earlier point, with going to universities and the colleges, you do get a lot of pressure put on you for like picking a good one, because if you don't believe that like you're good enough to get into like the best universities like Cambridge, Harvard, Oxford.
I would say some of that is probably for either for like kind of like show, because most universities I remember, because I remember like universities to me, like inside a university, it's like they give you the information in class, right, and they just expect you to study at home. Like it's kind of different from like high school in a way, because it's like they give you the information and then you just go study at home. It's not really like proper learning.
So you're saying it's
Yeah.
like different to high schools?
It's very different the way how you learn in
Yeah, but
universities.
my main point here is that parents do put a lot of pressure
Yeah.
to try and get you into those better universities. So if you don't believe you're at a good enough standard to go into that, and you pick like a lesser university, if you pick like quite a like just a not very famous university, or one that a lot
Yeah.
of people don't know about, a lot of people might like shame you, just saying like, oh, why didn't you pick like Oxford or Cambridge?
Yeah,
like,
because it's at the end of the day, it's a school. You go there to learn, and I think that the main difference, the main problem that I see, the main problem that I see. All right, so let's go to I think the main problem with that is that with universities, the kind of it's just a different environment.
well, also
Yeah.
probably one of the other biggest issues
Yeah.
with further education
Yeah.
is the tuition stuff regarding universities, because a lot of kids are put pressure on that when they have to go into universities, because oftentimes what I hear in the news is that there's often like
Yeah.
not much support for kids getting, like there's not much information out there for like what really they're getting into when they get these massive like fees and all this like money to help them
Yeah.
get through.
Well, I think we've covered a lot in this podcast today, and we've even covered a little bit about future life, and a little bit about future life at universities and things like that. And I think that should probably be it for today, because we've discussed quite a bit about universities and
Homework deadlines.
homework deadlines and the pressures of just life in general, and from high school, from like primary school to like university
and college.
Yeah, and even further than that. So this has been James and Devonte, and we like to wrap up the podcast, and I hope you tune in for next time. Thank you.